Yeah, super excited. Since we last talked, we had our first scrimmage last Saturday. We simulated 11 o'clock kickoff when we go to Duke, even though it's going to be on the East Coast at noon. It'll be 11 o'clock kickoff for us. So I thought our guys kind of handled that with an 11 o'clock kickoff. That means we have a pregame meal at 7 a.m. So that's new to some of the guys in the room. We have 40 new guys in the room, and a lot of those guys will be a big part of our two deep. Some of them will be starters. So we want to get those guys ingrained with how we do things. 11 o'clock this Friday, we'll have a 6:30 kickoff or 6:30 scrimmage, which will be 2 weeks out exactly from our opener against Western Illinois. So kind of everything we do is with a purpose. Last week and the 2 days prior to that, for a week and a half, we practiced in the evening because we have class conflicts, but our last day of classes was Saturday. So that freed up everybody's schedule. It's kind of a unique time in my world as a head coach where we don't have any academic conflicts, don't really have anything but football 24/7. So we take full advantage of that. They're in the building, usually in the building by 6:30, or I walk in the door sometimes at 5:30 in the morning with our guys. We have a mandatory weigh-in at 7, and the last thing they have is 9:30 at night. So, they got a 14 and a half hour day with us. Got a couple intermittent breaks in the afternoon, but for the most part, they grind it out pretty good for us all through this week. The scrimmage was very productive. The first half we went thud, which is just pretty high intense, is about as intense as we can get practice. Did a little bit of ones twos, a little bit of ones, did some skelly work, did a lot of early down stuff, so a lot of beginning football. Did some move the ball, did some red zone, and very specific in the punt game as well as field goal. So a couple of bright spots for us. David Alanos continued to hit the ball extremely well. He hit a 60-yarder the other day. It was probably good from another 10 to 15 yards. It was ironically, it was the day before the kid for the Jaguars hit the big long hit. So it was kind of fun to see that play out. I would say Crimmins and the addition of him and our as a punter, but he's also done an incredible job as a holder. So he's now our starting holder as well, which is very common in today's world. But Crimmins is hitting the ball extremely well. Lars as well as a punter. So super excited about that. Offensively, had some guys banged up in the offensive line. I'm getting a couple of those guys back here literally in the next 24, 48 hours. Don't know how much we're going to be able to scrimmage them on Friday, but we still have our mock game next week and really 2 weeks of practice. So really not overly concerned, especially with like guy like JC. Sometimes these moments actually be a blessing in disguise. So those guys aren't involved. Some of those high-end guys that we have that play a lot of football, we're maintenance those guys around scrimmages as it is. So JC has progressed nightly. I think he'll begin to practice with us next week and should be full go for game week. Melvin Priestley, I can't remember if you guys have seen him since then, but he returned after just a day or two out with a mild ankle sprain. But he's actually practicing. He's actually working our left side right now in JC's absence. And at right tackle, Des Schuster has moved into that spot and done really, really well. 2 days into it, he got cleared yesterday or 2 days ago, and has been very, very effective and promising at that spot. Really, everybody else has been a backup guy that's been hurt. Unfortunately, TJ McMillan and Brandon Hanson both were concussed a little bit. So those two guys have continued to progress. I think TJ passed all the scores. He should be with us. If not Friday, he'll be with us Monday. And I think B. Hanson will be very quickly as well. So nothing catastrophic. The only thing that John Forrester, unfortunately, had a play on a scrimmage where he was just kind of running towards the boundary. Unfortunately, took a knee injury that's non-surgical, but it will keep him out for a pretty extended amount of time. It's a non-surgery repair, but unfortunately for us, that takes him out of any opportunities this fall with us to play. Could get back later in the spring or later in the fall. We're still running some more tests, but him and Cedric both have been very impressive. I would say our three top guys with Aiden, Caden, and Khalil Valentine have been absolutely very impressive. Super excited what they're bringing to the table. Luke has continued to be very impressive at quarterback, but I would say Ethan Hampton has truly been what we saw in the spring, if not even better. So super excited about him as we play our tight end room with Stoffel and Christian Abney. Those guys, new guys adding in there have really been a nice addition. Cole Rusk is back with us running full go, has made a couple of really nice plays, and Tanner Arkin. So that room, and then Jordan Anderson's going to be a crossover guy. He's really done nice things in the tight end room, but also working in our RB room. So a little bit of crossover there for him. And in the wide receiver room, probably the group that we were most interested in, Colin Dixon, Hank Beatty just continue to show up every day. Very impressive dudes. Not just what they do, but how they do it, the leadership they provide. We've moved Hudson Clement outside, and he's looked really, really good. I think him, J-Bo, And Malik Elsey's been a little bit banged up for the last couple of days. He had a hamstring that just a little soft tissue, not a bad pull, but he did miss the last 2 days. I think he'll be with us. He wanted to go today, but we didn't let him go. I think he'll be with us tomorrow and hopefully play Friday. So defensively, really haven't had anybody miss any time. We've maintenance a little bit. Matt Bailey landed on the scrimmage, I guess it was the day before the scrimmage, and just had a slight muscle strain in his back. So nothing that shouldn't just be cured with about 4 or 5 days of rest. He's chomping at the bit, but we're just making him sit out right now. But nothing of significance there. He's the only guy, defense starter, that's really missed anything or missed any time. Caleb Patterson's back with us. That DB room is Xavier Scott, Miles Scott, Mac Rosetich, a couple of guys that are up and comers. Sabor's had a really nice. Ben Clausen has a really nice camp. So I'm really excited. Torrey Cox has had a good camp. His younger brother Ty Cox has really had a good camp. Zanai Scott is playing a little boundary safety for us. I think he'll be a guy that could be in the mix for us, especially on the special teams. So our inside linebacker room, Dylan Rosiak, a guy that continues to just be really impressive. It's fun to see him grow and see where he's at. I would also say that Malachi Hood and James Kreutz are playing as good a football as they've ever played for us. So excited about that. Luke Zarjan probably is our 4th or 5th guy, and then also Kanena Odolaga is playing as good a football since he has been here. So that room has been good. We moved Ish. There is one positional change. We moved Ish to the outside linebacker room, and has been pretty impressive. Had a nice rush on the goal line out there today. That is just an instinctive play that he made that is pretty impressive. So Gabe and Alec and Leon Lowry and Daniel Brown and I throw Ish into that mix, and Mason Moragan just really couldn't be happier with the depth of that room and seeing where they're going. And then inside, James Thompson is probably our standout guy, without a doubt. Kurt Neal's had a really good camp. And that other defensive end position with Pat Farrow, Tommy, and a couple other guys pushing that envelope. And then we've got a lot of guys battling out for some depth. So really, that's about it. Super excited where they're at. And with that, I'll open up for questions. Yeah, it's been super excited for Cole, righty guy that came in with high expectations, was really rolling, had a good spring for us, had a good fall, and then really just got himself, obviously because of the injury, like just a lot of anticipation to get back out there in the spring. He was out there for a little bit and then got sidetracked a little. So we're super excited to get him into fall camp. I think his first catch was kind of one of those, okay, I'm back. Unfortunately, he came at an angle, a DB knocked the wind out of him, so it was kind of anticlimactic but he got right back up in there today. Had a couple of really nice, really tight window traffic catches in the red zone. But he's a big, long athlete who the good thing in that room right now is like it's the deepest room we've ever had. So I think competition is bringing the best out of everybody. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I give a lot of credit to his relationship with his coach. I think him and Steph have hit on a high level, and it's been fun to see him continue to grow. I think the part that Malik, when he walks in the room, you're going to be like, okay, there's a guy, right? And then he goes out and now he's playing like it. He took a play in the immediate zone play there that we kind of, shot fringe area, and he just took it and took authority towards the goal line. It was very impressive. Everybody kind of was like, ooh, right? And so I think we're ready to make a big jump. I know this hamstring's kind of making him mad a little bit, but on the same account, it's probably made him taste it even better, right? And see some of the other guys start to make plays. So super excited to see him get back out there. But I think he could be a guy that could be poised to make a big jump.
Talk so much about the wide receiver. I know you mentioned a lot of guys. What has stood out for wide receiver about that so far?
Colin Dixon, Hank Beatty, just continue to every day be very impressive dudes. You guys interview them. They don't talk a lot. They're just very functional, very direct in what they say and what they do. I have a feeling that Hank Beatty, obviously Colin has a couple of years with us, but Hank Beatty, could be his final year, and he's just so much that he's been through. Last year at this time, he was coming off of a soft tissue kind of a freak thing. He just got hit in a drill, and to come back into it, saw his dad and his sister in the stands after the scrimmage on Friday, and was just kind of really good to see everybody smile. And I know he's a feel-good story. I think when the NFL teams come through, they're very impressed with what he does in a return game, and I'm kind of excited to show everybody what he does in the passing game, because he really isn't a guy that's had many opportunities at that, but I think he's going to take advantage of every opportunity.
Big question. Coach Lenny talked about an identity for the offense last week. I'm curious, has your offensive philosophy evolved over the years? Going back to your first few years as a head coach.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like I was over at Wisconsin. We had four linemen deep, and I remember I told a story to the other guys. Like I remember we flew to Hawaii. We had a center that we thought was pretty good. His name was Peter Collins. He actually had a blood issue, blood clot thing, and found out at 3 a.m. that he wasn't going to be able to play in the game the next day. And we called Travis Frederick at 5 a.m, who had at that point I believe he had started, but he wasn't a guy that was in our playing rotation. He ended up starting the next day without anybody telling him, and he later became a first-round draft pick. So it was kind of like we had guys wait. I remember there was a D lineman or an O lineman, Bill Nagy, that started as a sophomore, got injured, never got back in the lineup, never started his senior year. He was taken in the 6th round by the Dallas Cowboys, never started it for us. And it was a backup player that got drafted, right? So it was a different time, different era, different depth in the way we played the game. Now, I think the strength, even though there was a practice where we had 7 linemen out, we were still functional out there, which I think should tell you that we probably got better depth than I've ever thought, right? I think our ability of our quarterback, we got to play to that strength. I know Barry probably talks about identity, but I think your identity has to reflect your player's strengths. And we got a quarterback who's had a 3-year career as a starter. I would tell you also, Ethan Hampton has been very impressive. He's not Luke, but in the same capacity, but there are several things that he does very, very well. So I feel really good about 2 guys in that room where we're at. And I think Carson Boyd continues to come around every day. So we've developed an offense. I think it has multi-tempos. Now, because we have a tight end room, we're not going to just be stuck in 11 personnel. I think we're going to be in 12 personnel, which opens up a huge difference for us in what we can do offensively. And now you throw into some ability to pull multiple receivers on the field at the same time. That's going to be a good thing.
From a more of a team perspective, what did you like about the scrimmage?
Best thing, worst thing? Best thing is we took care of the football. We didn't have a lot of turnovers. I don't believe we had an interception, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think there was one interception and not one forced fumble. We always had some things with snaps just because we had centers. When TJ McMillan couldn't go, so we were down to our 3rd and 4th center when we pulled Josh out. So there's some issues there. But overall, I just think the way we protected the ball, and also on the flip side, defensively was taking shots at the ball. And then the worst thing, probably, just because we were thin at certain positions, we weren't able to do live scrimmages as long as I'd want. The whole second half was live scrimmage tackle football. But I would also tell you the way Caden Fagan and Aiden Lawfrey and Khalil Valentine are running. I don't know how many times we got to tackle those guys because they play pretty well without much effort. On Luke, yeah, I think Luke. He's a very. I always say this, right? Like he's very intentional in everything he does. He's intentional in his relationships. If he develops a relationship with you, it's because he wants to, right? Like he isn't somebody that's artificial in anything he does. He got in front of the team and talked the other day, and he had a couple things to express. But the third thing was probably something that kind of stuck holding to me. He said, the more you tell the outside world, right, the less that you'll have to answer to, right? And the more that you tell the outside world, the better your life could be, right? Like just the humility of that moment for him was really big. That's what he really preached, was humility. And I think he says it, he preaches it, and hopefully lives it. And then I think the other thing we have going in our locker room, we have a bunch of guys that love to give people a hard time. So I think if he gets too high, everybody's going to be willing to pitch in and do their best to knock him off. But there really hasn't been any indicators of that. Yeah. Yeah, really good question. I don't know if that was a plant or somebody gave you that, but a year ago, I really thought we went after Daniel Brown and Rio Sanders because we thought they'd come in and give us immediate depth. Both of them had season-ending type injuries, right? Rio didn't happen until later in the year, but he had an hamstring at the beginning. Daniel Brown had a little back issue that he can never recover from. But those 2 guys, I think if you ask not only our coaches but our players, if you ask 2 guys that have kind of jumped out this fall camp on defense, it's Daniel Brown, and on offense, Rio. Rio had a play yesterday against our number 1 offense. It was big time. He's extremely fast. He's very gifted. He's pound for pound. Our strength coach tells us he's the strongest player in our football program. There's just not a lot of pounds to him, but pound for pound, he's very, very impactful, very powerful, very fast. Actually, at the end of practice today, I usually have a reason why I call a player up to break our team down at the end, and that guy today was Dana Brown.
A couple more.
Am I? Yeah. They've all kind of come about in their own unique way. I remember Aiden when I first got to town. Everybody's talking about this running back, Gibson City. I throw on the film and just love what I see. Got a chance to meet with him. I remember sitting in my living room, and I thought he was going to commit to us, but I wasn't quite sure. It was down to us in Iowa, and he invited in the whole damn city of Gibson City. So I was kind of sitting there going, boy, this ain't going to be good for all these people in Illinois shirts if it goes the other way. But that moment, and then I distinctly remember the first time I met Caden Fagan. He came with his mom and his grandpa. I had seen him on film and I'd seen pictures of him, but I'd never physically seen him. Like when you first see Caden Fagan, you're always probably going to remember that moment. And I remember I gave specific orders to my entire staff because I know I used to be a linebacker coach. Like if I saw a good looking kid who wasn't a linebacker, I'd be like, hey, like give him one of those. And you think you're being real cool and it's fun, right? But I literally said, hey, morons, like literally no one jokes, teases, and has a moment with Caden or his family about playing tight end or playing outside linebacker or playing like he's a running back and he'll play running back here until I say he doesn't or until he tells me he doesn't want to. And I'm so glad we took that approach because I don't think everybody else did. I think we literally, when Illinois wasn't good, I think we got one of the best players in the country at the time with Caden because of the way we recruited him. And for him to persevere through what he's had to go through the last 2 years and to see the juice in him right now, it's just a lot of fun.
You mentioned, I'll do one more after this. The number, like the sense of brothers you have on the roster.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you like about recruiting these families?
Yeah. Good question, but I really just kind of timed out great, right? Like, first one, Josh Kreutz was signed before I ever became the head coach. He signed on a Wednesday, and then I distinctly remember Pat Hamilton bringing in James's film and knew that he was getting under recruited, and I watched his film. I think we were on the road, a road game, and I got done watching about 20 plays, and I said, don't show this film to anybody else, right? Like, put this away. I said we're gonna offer him literally the night or two before signing date. So we kept it quiet. Nobody offered him, and then I remember calling Olin that night and saying, "Hey, where are you going to be about 6 o'clock? I want to call and offer your son a scholarship." And I remember that moment, right? So that built that first one as it played out. The next one that probably transpired was, I guess, Xavier, and Xavier was a guy that we recruited and. Then all of a sudden, his little brother Zanai, he's playing for my buddy. I know I've used that as a joke. My buddy Jack Daniels is his coach, right? And Jack's just like, hey, if you like Xavier, you're going to love Zanai, right? And it kind of played out. Hopefully, and thankfully got him. Torrey Cox, right, was kind of an unusual deal. He was at Ohio. He was in the portal. We were running out of scholarships back then, and we didn't know if we had one. We had one kind of pop up, and I said, hey, I just kind of want to take a swing at that Torrey Cox. He was on our radar, but we let him drift. So we brought him in and obviously he played. And then about midway through the year last year, I just called his dad and I said, hey, what's better than one T Cox is two, right? And so we ordered and offered him up and he came and that's where we got him. And then I'm trying to think who the other two are. The Canopics, obviously we got Aiden. I was aware of his brother and then he came in during the spring. I'd never met him, saw him. And then just, I think the element of, good news travels fast and they saw the way his brother was developing and to see where it's at. And then Hudson Clement. Honestly, I went after Hudson, didn't even know Murph existed. And then I'm talking to the coaches and his high school coaches, talking to his mom and dad. And Murphy was in the portal as well. And I looked and there really wasn't a lot of film, but he's a Gatorade Player of the Year, wired just like him. And that's kind of what brought it all about. So I do believe in DNA. I know I was very similar to my brothers as I've seen it. Like it's not always going to be a case, right? But I go back to what you've learned in the past. I remember recruiting a guy named J.J. Watt, and then there's this guy named Derek Watt, and then there was this guy named T.J. Watt, and they all seem to play pretty good, right? So I know the guy that first told me that was that dad, right? John Watt told me before any of them were even in high school after J.J. was with me, he said, that one's going to do this and that one's going to do that. And to this day, like where we are right now today, right? Like T.J. Watt is everything that John Watt told me he was going to be when he was like 10 years old. So I really believe dads have the ability to see what they know is going to come to life, and it's pretty cool to be a part of it.
Last one here.
Matt Bailey successful here. Well, I'm just glad it's here, right? Because he was only offered by us. We're the only school that offered a scholarship, but my guess is that there's probably 100 schools now that wish they had, and I give a lot of credit to him. When he came here on campus, true story, we were all excited about him. I loved his film. He played a little bit of wide receiver, played a little bit of quarterback, played a little bit of DB. He came in the spring. I think he had been in 3 track meets that week or something like that, and probably played in a baseball game and a basketball game or whatever it was. And he came in and he ran, but he didn't run as well as my assistant coaches thought he'd run. And I didn't watch it because I was involved with something. So I got the times and I got the film. And he was going to walk out the building, and he was very disappointed he wasn't getting a scholarship. And I met with him and his mom, and I remember he was very emotional. Mom was emotional because he thought they were going to get a scholarship offer him. I was sitting in my house that night about 9 o'clock, and I'm like, something just told me you need to call this kid, right? You need to call this kid and talk to him. So honestly, about 9:30 that night, I just picked up the phone. I called his high school coach, who I think the world of, and said, hey, this is what I'm going to say. What do you think? He said, Bret, I believe being honest is always the best thing to do. So I just told him, listen, man, like maybe today was a disappointment you needed to have to get to where you want to go. And it doesn't make sense now, but it will in the future, right? And then, we went and watched him play basketball in January, and the coaches that were there literally called me and they said, what are we doing, right? Like it reminded me so much of Dre Greenlaw, is a kid that I had at Arkansas who now just signed Denver for whatever it was, $50 million, right? He was a guy that we didn't offer in the spring of his going into his senior year, but we waited till about midway through his senior year. So I literally remember calling Matt that night, and then the coach called me the next day and said, hey, I'm glad you called him. That really kind of made him feel empowered. And then his senior year was special, and the moment came, we called and offered him again. We didn't offer him until like 2 days before signing day because I knew if I did, other people would follow. And we've been lucky enough to be the recipient of Matt Bailey for a long time. He's got 2 years, and to be honest, like if he plays the way I think he's capable of playing, he'll probably have a decision to make, just because he's an elite football player. He's an elite person.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.